Salutations! Today we're making a risotto with black rice. If you're a risotto purist and you're already shaking your head at me, please know that I'm thankful to have you as a viewer, and that I'm sorry. Okay, to get started you'll need a white or yellow onion, a shallot or two, a celery stalk, some garlic cloves, and mushrooms. But since you're going to be cooking for the next hour or so and the world is seemingly on the verge of collapse, you probably want to start with your beverage of choice, preferably one that's alcoholic. Okay. Clean the mushrooms and rip out their stems. Cut them into pieces that are slightly larger than you think they should be, because they are going to shrink in the pan. Speaking of pans, you should be heating one to medium heat right now. I use olive oil and butter for something like this, but you're welcome to use one or the other if you'd like. Toss in those mushrooms and add some salt. Mushrooms have a lot of water inside, and the salt will help motivate it out. While those cook, work on the vegetables. With half the onion, make something in the ballpark of a fine dice. Do the same thing with the shallot. Normally you don't put any celery in risotto, but I think it tastes good, so I do it. If you want to skip this, that's totally fine. Back in the pan, the mushrooms are looking pretty good. I should have let these cook a little bit longer, but I was experiencing a moment of weakness at that time. Set those aside and in goes the chopped veggies. You may feel like that's a lot of onion, and that's probably because it is. But I really like onion. I've literally ended relationships over partners not liking onions. Most of those are going to melt soon anyway though, so don't worry too much about it. Get some salt in there for the same reason as before, and then harness the power of movie magic, or LSD, and cook these instantly. In goes 1 cup of our rice to toast. Get everything coated in the pan's remaining oils, and after a minute or so, your kitchen will smell nutty, toasty, and delicious. With a coffee cup full of dry white wine that you're definitely not drinking at 11 a.m., deglaze the pan. How much? I have no idea. A third, maybe quarter cup? Look at that pretty color. When the smell of alcohol goes away, it's probably all burned off, and you can now start to really cook the rice. I'm using chicken stock here, but I honestly prefer the flavor of this same brand's vegetable stock. Traditionally, you're supposed to have a saucepan full of simmering stock next to you that you slowly ladle into the rice while constantly stirring, but I think that's unnecessarily laborious and will not result in a noticeably different texture. I'm just dumping about half of this room temperature stock in. I'll let that hang out until I feel like it needs more. The best part about doing it this way is now you have enough time to make yourself a drink. And aviation has basically the same color, so let's make one of those. Grab a lemon and cut it in half. Squeeze out 3/4 of an ounce of its juice and strain it through one of these little fine strainer things if you got one. If you don't worry about it. It just helps to cut the pulp. 3/4 of an ounce of creme de violette. 3/4 of an ounce, maybe an ounce of gin. 3/4 of an ounce of Luxardo maraschino liqueur, but don't spill. Toss in 5 ice cubes and fine strain into any glass you have. Garnish it with a cherry or a lemon peel or nothing at all, that's fine. While the camera's over here, let's cut up some garlic we'll decide to not use. We'll also rough chop some parsley, but we have no choice to not use that. Man, if there's one reason I'd like to have a kid, it would be to make them pick all the leaves off this stuff. But doing it yourself is manageable enough, I guess, and definitely far less expensive. What are we doing again? Oh, yeah, the rice has been in there like 10 or 15 minutes, and I think that's looking pretty good so far. The stock is cooking down, so we'll need to add more soon. See how the stock that is in there looks really liquidy? We're ultimately looking for that to thicken up because of the rice starches that will fall off the grain and incorporate into the sort of sauce that we're making in the pan. Add some more stock and give it some good stirs. Maybe make a funny face for the camera. You'll need to do about 3 cycles of this. Add stock, stir, add stock, stir. Eventually, you'll get impatient and you'll just dump in the remaining stock. For this, I will not judge you. In about another 10 minutes, that'll have cooked down and we can reintroduce our mushrooms. This is starting to get, dare I say, goopy, and that's exactly what we're going for. Keep stirring until it's nice and thick and your rice is almost tender enough to eat. Toss in a couple of pads of butter and the parsley that we chopped. We're putting in the parsley now instead of at the very end like you would with most fresh herbs because parsley needs to be cooked a little or else it has this bitter taste that I don't love. See how that kind of oozes and is creamy and delicious looking? That's what we're looking for. Save for what we used to sweat the vegetables earlier, we haven't put any salt into this dish, and that's because we're going to be using salty cheeses to finish it. You can use Parmesan or Asiago, Romano, whatever, all 3 if you want. Just grate your own, don't be lazy like me. Grab the other half of that lemon from earlier and squeeze its juice into the dish. The acidity here will help brighten everything up. You won't actively taste any lemon. You could also use a little vinegar or just a little glug of that white wine too. Believe me, I hate resting food when it's done, but with this dish it's necessary, so put a lid on it and walk away for 5 or 10 minutes. Doing so will help it thicken up nicely. Great, you exercised restraint. Grab a plate. I know this is a kind of black tar heroin looking goop, but god damn is it good. It's honestly good enough to stand on its own as a main dish, but you could have it as a side with a pork chop or lamb. I don't know. I've never made lamb before. You should make some lamb and I'll make this risotto and then we'll switch. Or you should make this risotto because I made a video for it and I'll make the lamb and then we can just meet up. And I'm sorry. All right, thank you for watching.